Oh my gosh, how excited were Chauncey and I to interview our next podcast guest, Dayna Lynne North. Oh, if you do not know who she is, I'm going to need you to whip out that phone and Google real fast because shame on you, you should know. Anyways, Chauncey and I have been big fans forever, and she is a legend and has done so much great work in the entertainment industry. We don't even have time. We cover it in the episode, so just listen to the episode and we cover it all. But she shares her lessons learned and all of that great stuff, along with the newest project that she's a part of, The Best Man, The Last Chapters. It's a new series on Peacock coming out December 22nd, in which she's involved in, and we cannot wait. Hey Slay Nation, welcome back to another So She Slays podcast. I am Heather.
I'm Chauncey, and today we have an incomparable woman of the hour, Dayna Lynne North. Please introduce yourself to our wonderful So She Slays audience and just let us know how amazing you are.
Aw, I'm so honored by that intro. Hi, ladies. I am Dayna Lynne North. I am a writer, producer, self-described delightful disruptor of the status quo when I can be. And I'm thrilled to be here with you all.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you. So today, I feel like we can talk to you about so many different things, but we're going to try and bring it in. We're going to rein it in here. And let's just talk about the importance of finding your seat at the table. Now, we are all women of color and we're all involved in the media, entertainment, all of that in some sector, right? And it's important to be able to find your seat at the table, but it also takes some time to do so. Let's start there.
Yes, let's start with the obvious. Like, how do we get our seat at the table? How did you get there? Give us everything about you, because Heather and I personally know your work, and your work is incredible. Like,
thank you.
We have so much to talk about later. But yeah, tell us about, like, how do you claim your seat at the table?
Great question. Well, I'll start by adding one more piece to my introduction, and then I'll work backwards. So, in the spirit of being a delightful disruptor and a seat at the table, a lot of people talk right now about making your own table. So most recently, that is what I've done. I am founder and CEO and chief disruptor at a company called Loud Sis Productions. I've been calling myself a loud sis since I was in college, and finally was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to keep it going. And so, I have a production company that has a deal at Sony, and so that's currently my table, right? That I invite others to join me regularly at that table in terms of just centering stories around women of color and around those who are usually left on the outside of the storytelling conversation, is the way I like to say it in television and film. And so, to your question, a lot of times I think it honestly starts with believing that you deserve a seat at the table. That's what I would say, because I think often for women, and I'll speak for myself, and I think it still continues to be a struggle for a lot of women of color that I know, and that is somewhere along the way, right? I believe that we are all born not only with the light, but with the intention and the desire to shine our light. But it can be easy as women of color, right, to start taking in a lot of negative stuff and information, and start to like just dim that light somewhere along the way, right? And start to struggle with letting that light shine. And so first, you got to believe that you are entitled to and deserve your seat at a table, whatever table that may be, wherever you want to sit, however you want to be creative, whatever you want to do, right? Whatever you want to do, believing that you deserve that seat at the table. And I think we live in a society that tends to just teach men that they deserve it. I think boys and men get to move through the world with just this sense that they deserve that seat at the table. And somewhere along the way, a lot of us, and again, I'm speaking for myself, there was a point when I just noticed that it was harder for me to believe that. So first, you got to believe that you deserve that seat, and then it becomes easier to start claiming that seat.
Oh my gosh. No, right there with you. I think all the way around, I'm hoping that it's a trend that is happening where people are really recognizing their own power and their own strengths and leaning into it as much as possible.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because there's, we can, and you all let me know. I think there's different ways we can talk about that, the issue of that seat, because sure, we can talk practically about, right, the different ways you go about whatever it may be, right? Getting jobs or making your claim and things like that. But really, I believe it starts from within, right? So you've got to, once you find your way to kind of shore that up, then it becomes a lot easier to like have the conversation you may need to have with somebody about, I deserve that promotion or whatever those things are, right? Or I want you, or would you read this or recommend me here? But all of that, all of those sometimes fierce conversations that need to be had, or the thing you want to apply for, all of, you've got to, right? You've got to have that inner strength first that comes from the believing that you deserve. So that's why I want to start there. And then the rest of it is the practical stuff.
Well, I mean, I say the spiritual stuff is the hardest part half the time.
Yes,
right?
It's the self-reflecting part of you, and the spiritual side of it is the hardest thing to start. And then once you get there, I feel like everything else is easier.
Yeah.
But the first part, the self-audit of yourself, that's a lot of work.
Right?
That is
and
work.
yeah, and I'm so glad you said, because one of the things that I talk about a lot when I'm, if I'm speaking to young people, if I'm doing a panel, whatever it may be about, the typically, right, industry things, and people ask about my advice or whatever. I like to say that what is the spiritual team that you have, right? So people might ask about, how do I get an agent? And I want to break in, and do you recommend a manager? And one of the things I will say is like, who is on your spiritual squad? Like, sure, it's great to have an attorney and a whatever it may be, right? Yes, business managers are great, but like, what's going on with your spiritual team? So what I mean by that is, yeah, like, do you have a meditation teacher? Do you have a therapist? Do you have, like, if you're going to work in, especially in any form, to me, of the industry, the arts, if you are an artist in whatever form, it's such a business of uncertainty. It's such a business, right, of instability. It's such a business of competition, where we are being led to believe that we are in competition. I don't think we have to look at it that way, but I think that's the external information that we're getting. And so with all of those elements, I think it's so important to have a spiritual squad. And it can be any number of things, right? Sure, it can be a minister. You all get the idea. It can be so many different things, but I think it's really important to have a spiritual squad. And that also helps you find that seat at the table.
So that kind of brings me to my other question then. Lessons learned along this way, right? I mean, spiritually, professionally, personally.
Yeah.
How did you get it? Like, tell us. Like, what?
Charlie's like, please give me the tea. What can I learn?
Because I want to know. You've done such phenomenal work. Like, I've watched your work forever, to be honest with you, for years. And like, I want to know, what lessons did you learn to get to who you are today? And that's important, not just for us, but for everyone who's listening to this podcast. Like,
I hear you. I will. Yeah. Like, thank you. There was this undercurrent. You were like, tell us. I will get that. I promise. I will. Okay, wait. So I heard lessons learned, and I feel like there was another question in there that I want to answer at the same time, but I'll get to it. So let's see. Yeah, lessons learned. I think, gosh, because there've been so many. So, I'm just trying to think about where to begin. I think that it is okay, and some of these are going to sound like cliches. And the thing about cliches, right, is that they're true. Like they have served a lot of us along the way. So that idea of that it is okay to be afraid and step out and do things even while you're afraid, like that. I'm thinking about some of the lessons that I have learned and am still using, right, and even along the way. So I'll talk about some of the practical of like some of the work I've done. And I've been writing television for a long time and I love it, right? And even, as a staff writer in TV, I've had amazing mentors along the way as I've worked on shows like Lincoln Heights, and my mentor Kathleen McGee Anderson, who's still an amazing friend, and I've worked on shows like Veronica Mars. And one of the things, so practically speaking, it was really amazing to have showrunners and mentors who, when I was young, I was out there learning what it meant to take a script from the early phases as a writer's assistant. I came up in the ranks in television as a writer's assistant, which is an incredible apprentice job, right? And it's a chance it was like my grad school, after I went to USC, where I met this incredible group of friends like the Prentice Pennies and the J. August Richards, who's, on a show on Peacock right now. It's really fun to have these Peacock cousins because I'm doing, The Best Man, the final chapter is on Peacock. And it's amazing to look and see my friends on the menu on Peacock right beside me. It's really beautiful. Or like my friend Morgan Cooper, who always says, who's a Peacock cousin. I call them my Peacock cousins, my friends who also are there, right? So Morgan,
I love that. I love that, Peacock cousins, because the guys are all grew up together. Like you guys like went through the trenches together. Yeah. And now you're seeing you guys glorify the way it's supposed to be. Like you claimed your space.
Thank you. Yeah, and Morgan is like so my friend J. August Richards, who's on Vampire Academy right now, he and I came up together and went to USC. He's part of my best man crew. Like it's that, like I'm still, don't worry, I'm still working my way up, but I'm just bringing it all together because like when I met Malcolm and we started talking about doing the best man, this iteration, what I said to him was, I have my own best man crew, and so that's part of why I related to it so much. Because when I was in college, I had always been I felt like always this sort of artsy nerd. And I remember getting to college and being like, you're the artsy Black nerds. Because, I had always growing up, had always kind of felt like this outsider, right? Because and I might sit when I was in high school, I would sit at the lunch table with like the nerds. I wasn't necessarily at like the Black table or this day. I was with people that I related to. So I got to college, I was like, here's my tribe. And so, all that to say, then I met Morgan Cooper, who's also from Kansas City. He and I just met more recently, but he's like a brother to me. One of Morgan's sayings that I love is imperfect action beats perfect inaction. And what that means is, to me, the way I interpret that statement is, as an artist, it's so easy sometimes to get stuck, right? Where you're like, this isn't good enough. I'm not ready to put this out there. I don't want anybody to read it yet because I feel like I can still see the mistakes in it. I can still see, right, what makes me feel like I'm not ready to share it. It's never going to be like perfect is one of those words that really drives me crazy. So in terms of a lesson that I have learned, it's never going to feel, as an artist, the chances of something ever feeling perfect to you are very slim. Let it be imperfect and take action anyway, because imperfect action beats perfect inaction all the time. So that is a Morgan Cooper quote that I love, because it's a great way to encapsulate, just go, just put your thing out there, like, because it'll allow, you know what I mean? It allows you to keep putting something out there and keep taking a step and putting one foot in front of the other. So that is an example of a lesson that can take a long time to learn, but the sooner that you can take it to heart, the better. But when I was younger and I was a writer's assistant, one of the things that I got a chance to really learn was it's so great when you can, even when you are, again, feeling nervous, to put an idea out there and have a way, when you speak up, have a way to like offer something that's a little different than what you're hearing. If I was a writer's assistant, I was taking notes and I was getting a chance to see what the writers were pitching. I always was in rooms where the showrunners would say, you can pitch as a writer's assistant. If you can keep up with notes and throw out an idea, go for it. But I got a chance to hear what everyone was throwing out. So it's like, well, what can if I'm going to offer something, how can I offer something that's not what everyone else is already saying? So like, what can you contribute to a conversation that's different, that's fresh, that's putting a little bit different twist on what you're hearing? Those are some of the things that I learned, early on. I was fortunate to get a chance to go through all the phases, meaning, the script phase, then going into the production phase and getting to really see what does it mean to take a script from, early phases in the room where it's on the board and you're trying to come up with the beats of the story, and then taking it into the script phase, taking it into production, putting it on its feet, going through prep with the director and with all the department heads. And it's really important to get to see what all those phases are if you want to, especially lead a show and be a showrunner. It's important to see all those phases. Just really learning to be a good collaborator is really important. And I got a chance to do that on Lincoln Heights, on Veronica Mars, so that when my friend Prentice Penny that I went to college with, it was so beautiful when he reached out to me and said, Issa and I are going to do Insecure together, and you want to come and help us get it off the ground. And I was like, yeah, and that was amazing. It was amazing to be with him for the first 3 seasons of Insecure. was a transformative experience
We are
for me.
huge
We are
fans.
huge.
You don't even know.
Like, you have no idea. Like, I was like, Heather, I will make sure my schedule is clear for this call.
Yes, like we are diehard fans for
like switch things around so I can be on this call with you. Like Heather was like, I'll figure it out. But you know, talking about your work, I watched Lincoln Heights. It was on, what was it? It wasn't Freeform yet. It was on a different. It was like
ABC Family or something.
Yes, there you go.
Something like that.
Girl, so I know.
You know, it was still called ABC Family at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about your work, let's give the audience like, what work have you done? Because we know, trust me, Heather and I, we're fans, but like,
and then don't forget to lead up to what's coming up here.
I'm excited about on Peacock that I'm super stoked for. So yeah, tell us about your career. Like, tell us what you worked on, because we know we stalk you. Like, tell us about yours.
All right, let's see. We'll take this walk down memory lane. So let's see. Starting with going way back. One of my first shows was the show called Any Day Now on Lifetime. That goes way back, take it back to the beginning, the show that like where I first broke out as a writer and where one of my mentors gave me my shot. And that was a show on Lifetime that was really beautiful about, and it flashed back to the 60s and came back to the present day about a Black woman and white woman who were best friends and kept their friendship going.
I know that show.
Lorraine Toussaint and Annie Potts. And so that was the show that I actually where I began my career. And then I worked on Soul Food, the series, on Showtime. And those were my early ones. And then from there came Lincoln Heights and Veronica Mars, the first iteration of Veronica Mars. It's amazing. Lincoln Heights, which was one of the first series that Chadwick Boseman was in.
Yes.
Got to work with Chad, which was really beautiful. And then Veronica Mars, and then Single Ladies on VH1 took that show over, and then its final season on VH1 was the showrunner there. Switched at Birth on that was around the time that actually the ABC Family became Freeform. Made that switch. And then had an amazing time doing an En Vogue Christmas, did a Christmas movie with En Vogue, which was so dope. I basically was like, wait, so En Vogue gonna get back together for this Christmas? I'm in. I get to go to concerts. I'm in. So that was super
Christmas movie. Yeah, I watched it.
Yes. Thank you. It's fun. It's fun that it still comes back around the holidays. And then Insecure.
You already know what we stand about this. We're huge Insecure fans. Haven't I watched it religiously together?
That was our like best friend time. We'll be like, hey, can we talk about business? But then also like, can we get like 30 minutes to talk about this show?
I know it was as amazing to be a part of a show where, you know, like I'm as much of a fan as everybody else, you know what I mean? And it's really, and it was life-changing to be a part of it. Like, it's one of those shows where it poured into me. I poured into it. It poured into me. It was a wonderful time. Like, you know, Issa is amazing. Like, I love her. That whole cast. Like, I'm friends with everyone to this day. We still give each other shit to this day. You know, was in Italy for Jay's wedding. As we should.
I was like, well, you were probably at all the weddings and everything, but I love that your career, first of all, I grew up with your career, like family, like, you know, of course I seen the En Vogue Christmas a few times. Okay, so like I know En Vogue, but like I love how all the shows that you worked on have really been inclusive. Like, you're making everyone feel seen. Like Veronica Mars, you had a young woman be the head of a show who was like doing all the detective work, and it wasn't like, it was so relevant to young women because, you know, we're used to seeing like, you know, older people, detectives and stuff like that. Like, and then of course you're bringing women of color to the limelight and feeling seen and feeling like it's not just like, oh, it's just like this regular, like, you know, X and Y show. This show is like empowering people and feeling seen and feeling heard and having experiences be on TV in a positive way, even if it's like messy. You felt seen, and that's something I loved about all the show that you mentioned. Like Lincoln Heights, you went through like that is the diversity in it. Switched at Birth, you're seeing like, you know, women, people in different communities in the deaf community. Like, you've worked with things that have brought voices to people who are not seen, which is very
Thank
appreciative.
you. Wow. Yeah, thank you for the noticing and the reflection of that, because that has been an intentional part of my career and the decisions I've made and the shows
Love
I've
it.
been on. So
Well,
thank you
it's
for that.
seen. It's definitely seen. And we are hopefully getting more people like you trying to bring more diversity and representation into this into the screen, and so that we can kind of see, you know, life reflected as it is rather than, you know, this picture perfect thing.
Yeah.
And your new
And
project.
your new, I was just gonna say, your new project we have
want to
coming
talk
up
about how
here, The
amazing
Best
it
Man, the final chapters on Peacock, coming out in
Yes.
December, right before Christmas. So you know everybody's gonna start binging that one.
Yes, like,
That is the goal.
I
Yeah.
grew up on those movies. Like
Right.
those movies are
We did.
huge in I think every household, to be honest with you. But the idea that
I
when I
agree.
saw it being announced, I was like, "This, oh, we're back at it again," and you have the
I
whole
know.
cast,
The
which
whole
is
cast, I'm so excited.
and the whole cast is like booked and busy. These people are not just like hanging out. Like these are like
Listen.
Morris Chestnut, you got Tay Diggs, you got Nia Long, like you have everyone.
Yeah, it was a blessing, and it's no small thing. You are absolutely right. Like to get the whole band back together,
These
right?
are stars. Like these
These
not
are stars.
Regina Hall, you have Nia Long, you have Terrence Howard, Morris Chestnut, Tay Diggs. Like these people stay booked and busy. Like these
They
are not like,
stay-
you know, hanging on the
Nah,
street. Like these
they
are
stay
like,
booked and busy.
yeah.
So
No,
what kind
people.
of like tea can you tell us?
With
I know you
something.
can't give us everything, but can you give us a little something?
I mean,
A little.
gosh, I'm thinking. I know it's a great question. Well, I mean, it's you all are hitting on it in the sense that it is, as you said, we've grown up on these movies. They're you know the sort of hot tea of, you know, it's centered around, right, Harper, this character who wrote this book about his friends, right, and it became this messy thing. And so, you know, I guess I would say right.
You said it
Just a little bit.
I was like, it was wild.
It was wild.
As a child, I knew it was out of hand. I was like, this is wild.
I mean, like even as a kid, I knew that was a hot mess.
I was like,
and so I guess I would say we're going to pick up and continue on some of those threads. You know how it's true in friendships when certain things, right? When you have groups of friends where somebody tends to be a messy one, they don't stop being a messy one, right? And so I guess that, right? And so the triangles that have always existed, like we're going to continue those themes and those threads, right? So Harper being a source of mess among the friends, that has not changed. You know, we will, you know what I mean? And
well,
and
I mean, yeah, I mean, would it be The Best Man if he did change? I mean,
if Tay Diggs was not being, that would be weird.
Right, was not out there being right. And so I was just, so I would just say, you know, the book Unfinished Business and the stories that he's written about his friends, all of that continues to be a source of, shall we say, controversy. You know, so and you know, as they come, and then if you recall at the end of Holiday, Quentin calls and or he makes this announcement that he's getting married. And so we're going to find out what happens with all of that. Right, who he gonna marry. The friends are all reuniting, and we're gonna find out what happens with that. And like I said, you know, they've all been friends a long time, but it's part of what was intriguing to me, again, being part of a big group of college friends myself, part of what was intriguing to me is as you go from your 20s to your 40s, and we're catching up with these friends some 20 years from when we first met them, right? You know, things happen. And for me, the idea of like midlife metamorphosis was really fascinating. You know, that's kind of what I said to Malcolm when I met with him about being really excited about the idea of continuing this franchise into series. And I love, first of all, right, as in series, you get a chance to dive in. You have multiple episodes to really, right, unpack and get into all this. It's like, you know, friendships evolve, marriages evolve, you evolve as a person, right? So you're not going to be the same person in your 40s that you were in your 20s. And what does that mean for marriages?
Let's hope not.
I don't have that. Like honestly, like I just love how this series would dive into like more into, like it's going to dive into more people, like the more characters, like in depth, because with The Best Man, you dealt with like messy behavior, you dealt with death, unfortunately, and how death can take a toll on friendships. and how it brings you together, which when it shouldn't just bring you together, it should always be together. But death, like something like that powerful death, like if you haven't seen the last movie, there's a death, but it like shows
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
There's a death, but like I love how it shows a timeline of friendships growing and people's marriages and relationships or personalities. And I feel like with this series that you're going to run, I just feel like it's going to be such a great win for everyone to watch, because like people grew up with these characters and everyone, and these are recognizable faces, guys, like Melissa De Sousa, like everyone's in there and you're just like, I know these characters and I feel seen these characters, but you gave us so much with Insecure too. So I'm just excited to see with these messes of Harper in them.
Exactly. Well, and thank you for everything you're saying is spot on. And as you both know too, what's interesting to me is we're in a time in our, excuse me, come on guys, hang in there for a few more minutes, just a few more minutes. You know how dogs get, they're like, this call has gone on long enough. But what I was gonna say is we're in a time in our society right now that we're also gonna acknowledge, which meaning I feel like we're evolving, we're being tested in our society. We just survived, we're still surviving, right? A pandemic. And just in terms of what's going on with Black women coming into where we started this conversation, Black women coming into our own, like, what does it mean to like want to make sure that your voice is heard? And so these characters are going to be tested. They're going to be, there's a new generation. They have kids now that are old enough to be like, you all might think you're cool, but do we think you're cool? And so, you know what I mean? So we're gonna also just be really looking at like, where are they in their lives? And like what, just really, it's an opportunity to really look at like the world through this 21st century lens. And what does that mean for these characters as they're evolving? And so it's exciting.
Well, we can't wait. I want to say thank you for joining our awesome podcast. And for everybody who is listening, this lovely series, the Best Man series, the final chapters come out December 22nd, I believe. December
22nd, right? That is correct.
You better mark your calendars on Peacock. Thank you so much.
Christmas present.
Oh my gosh, right?
Right. Thank you. No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for our future streaming network. But before we go, any other upcoming projects that you're like super, you don't have to tell us what it is. You can say like you're super excited about, or like,
I will just say that I'm excited, again, my company, Loud Sis Productions, we have a few, we are in partnership with a few different, we're doing some things with Macro. We're excited. I mentioned Morgan Cooper, my Peacock cousin. He and I are developing some things. And so I basically am in some partnerships that I'm really excited about. You're right, I can't name names of the projects, but I will just say that I'm excited to get to some Loud Sis business in 2023 and be on the lookout for what Loud Sis is up to, because there's some other fun things coming down the line.
And be sure to follow them on Instagram under Loud Sis as well. You can stay up to date. Thanks again for joining us. And until next time, Slay Nation, we'll catch you later.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.